Hello and welcome! Today I'm hoping to get these brassica starts planted out in the garden. I put seeds in 4, maybe 6 weeks ago, I can't remember. And now we have lovely healthy young starts. Now I've got lots of Romanesco because I was challenged to grow some. It's something I've never grown before. They're looking really good so far. I had a fail on my all year round cauliflower. I've grown a row of nothing. Oh, how far's the camera? Can you see? Not quite. Put that one back. I'm putting that down to old seeds more than anything. My snowball cauliflower struggled a little bit as well. I've had 2 of them germinate and 2 of them no show. So let's go and prepare some planting space to put these in. I don't think I've got enough room for all of them. Well, I've got enough growing space. What I don't have is enough netted, covered space. And any brassicas planted out in the UK are going to need to be netted. Keep off the birds, cabbage white butterfly. It also makes a bit of a barrier for the slugs and snails getting in, though I will still be putting down some slug pellets. Just noticed, you can see in shot, these are the shallots. Anyone that's been here before might remember at the same time as I was planting these seeds, I was bringing in some very pathetic looking shallots that have been sitting out in the garden all year so far, doing nothing, constantly getting pecked and hammered by slugs and birds and pigeons and pulled up, and I've replanted. Finally we have lots of beautiful top green growth, so I'm really pleased that they're actually growing. Now I need to get them planted. Right, let's go out and prepare their planting space. So I do have some framework that I'm going to throw some netting over to keep out all the pests. Now I was planning to plant some of my brassicas into this bed this framework's sitting over at the moment, but as you see there's a beautiful display of nasturtiums at the end and I really don't want to dig them up. I want to carry on enjoying them for as long as I can. So I've chosen another empty bed. Behind us was the potato bed, so I might use that. And just to this side, this bed has been left empty all year. It had dahlias in it last year, and this year I haven't grown anything in it. So it's going to need a bit of a weed and a tidy up, and it'll be ready for planting. So as you see, with its year of neglect, there's quite a few weeds on the surface of this because it's not been covered with anything, it's just been abandoned and left. So let's get that tidied up, give me a nice new fresh planting space. The advantage of having been a raised bed for so many years, things pull out very easily. Right, I'll get on with this and I'll be back with you when it's all done. At last, my bed almost ready for planting. I've taken out a bucket full of weeds so they can go on the compost. Now my netting framework to protect these brassicas is very old. The netting that originally came with it has long since perished. I've replaced its bottom poles with some of this plastic water pipe. It's a little bit flexible, but its diameter size does fit all the T-junctions and connectors that create the shape. It's just the right fatness. It's stiffer than your standard hose pipe, more rigid. It's working very well. I've still got the original curved uprights and I've used metal rails across the top because this bit of flexibility is not good on the top run. Having assembled a structure to put my netting over, I do have some nice new netting to use to protect my brassicas. I've realised that the framework shape sits just nicely on top of my brick raised beds. Ideally, I'd want it to be just inside of the brickwork or outside of the brickwork, but it fits perfectly in the middle on the top. Now I could cut the ends shorter so that it all closes in tighter, but I don't want to do that. I'm not sure why, I just don't. I think it might give me issues with my arch support bits, but maybe it would be okay. The problem with it not being in the bed or out the bed is actually securing it down from the winter gales that we will get eventually. So what I've done for the moment, well, not for the moment, what I've done for this year is I've taken some strong nylon designed as washing line string, tied it to one side, wrapped it around the tube in a twirl and brought it to the other side. And on both sides I've done the same. With the end of my string, I'm going to put a loop in it and then secure it into the grass with one of these big U-shaped clips that are designed for holding ground cover fabric down. So if I put it in at a strong angle, that'll give it quite a bit of wind protection and help secure the whole framework, stop it blowing away. The frame itself won't actually blow away, the wind will just blow through it and around it. But once it's covered in netting, there's a bit more push against this structure. I've also added a bit of standard hosepipe tubing around my string at the bottom here, because as I go over the edge of the brickwork to pin this into the grass, I was nervous any movement and blowing around, my string is going to wear away and snap. So hopefully this bit of hosepipe tubing will protect it from that. So it's a bit of a bodgy job and a lash up, but I'm hopeful it's going to work. Up closer, here's what I've got going on. I've got my string that's wrapped around my uprights that comes underneath this bottom T-junction and back out and over, so it can pin everything down through my piece of hose pipe, which is going to stop it rubbing on the edge of this brickwork. I'm going to make a loop in the end and put my big U-clip into it and peg that into the ground at an angle, so it'll help hold everything down. If I peg it in going under my brickwork, that should give it a good firm hold. I could do the same at both of the two ends. Can't be bothered. I'm going to be holding my netting down with a row of bricks, so hopefully that'll help as well. Fingers crossed it'll still be here at the end of the winter, full of lovely brassicas to munch. So next step, some blood, fish and bone, just liberally, oh it's blowing away, I want it on the bed, sprinkled over the surface. No measurements, no specifics, just scatter it about. And a top dressing with some homemade compost. Oh, that's nice and dark. Bits of things trying to grow. Look like bean sprouts. I think they're nasturtiums. Nope, can't reach the other side. I'm gonna have to go round. This will all get mixed in as I'm digging the holes to put the starts in place. Thin layer of compost all spread out. Now it's time to decide where I'm going to plant all these starts.
I'm giving them about a foot between each plant. Some might prefer 18 inches, but a foot is all they're getting.
Oh, want me skirt. There we go. So I've got 2 purple cabbages, which I shall pop in there. And I've found 2 giant kohlrabi. I've only got 2. I think we're kind of late in the year for planting giant kohlrabi, but we'll give them a go. That's an awful lot of brassicas in this smallish space. Do I need my trowel? Maybe. Is it going to rain today? Probably not. Let's get some water.
Now we've got some water. Move this wheelbarrow out the way. Are we finally ready to plant?
Now, no surprises, we're actually forecast lots of rain in the upcoming week, but I'm still going to put some water in the holes for these when I first plant them, just in case we don't get any. So this one's 2 plants in one pot, all nice roots. I'll separate them, one here, one there. The ground itself is actually quite dry. We've had a couple days of sunshine. So where's my water? Come on you. Fill it up. So dig a hole, fill it with water and wait for that to soak away. When your water's all gone, plant your plants. Whatever you're planting, my system would be the same. Where I'm holding you, I'll put you in that hole while I've got you. You can go in there. First one in, yay!
Just as I've said many times before, and will no doubt say again, dig a hole, fill it with water, wait for that water to soak away, then you're ready to plant your plant. Now the hole is ready, you can tip your plant out the pot and pop it in a nice new planting hole and gently push the soil or compost back in around it. Little pressure on the top just to make sure it's nice and firm. Then simply repeat for every plant you're planting.
Well, that's perfect. All in. I've got 21 brassicas planted in this bed, which is a little bit too close together. They've been given about a foot in each direction, and ideally they would like 18 inches, but they're going to have to make do with a foot each way. Oh, it's a cloudy, overcast day, but I'm still squinting in the sun. Gonna have to make myself a sun hat. Now to put some netting on these. Protect them from the birds first of all. Oh, and I'm going to put down a scattering of slug pellets. Partly because we are due so much damp, wet, rainy weather. The slugs are going to have a field day. So slug pellets and netting. Keep off the slugs, the rabbits, the birds, and that deer that keeps eating all my flower heads. He doesn't seem to like dahlias though, so that's a good thing. I am of course using organic slug pellets. Sluggo is my brand name of choice. Seems to work okay. I'm scattering some around the outside of this bed as well, in the grassy areas. So hopefully they can have a munch of them out there before they even venture as far as my brassicas. But I will still scatter some here in the brassica bed in case there's any slugs hiding deep under the soil. Just had a thought. I have some strulch. I'm going to scatter some of that around here as well. Anything I can possibly do to help deter those slugs and snails. don't seem to get so many snails in this part of the garden, but we do get slugs about. So I have some strolch. Seems daft not to use it while I've got it. I was using it earlier on in the year when I first planted out the pumpkins. I used strolch and slug pellets to protect them, along with netting, and it all seemed to work very well. They grew just fine. So I'm going to put some around here as well. I should probably have put this on before I scattered out the slug pellets. Maybe I'll put another little scattering on top of slug pellets. So strolch. It's a kind of strawy mulch, hence the name, but it has a very pleasant, sweet, silagey smell about it. Apparently the snugs and snails do not like it. Now I've not done any official testing on that, but it does seem to work. This is covering up those slug pellets I've just scattered. I'll scatter a few more on top. Double protection.
I'm just scattering a thin layer of the strolch around each plant. I used it much thicker and deeper with the pumpkins and squash early in the spring. This is just a hint of it. Hopefully deter those slugs and snails.
I'm glad I remembered this strolch. If nothing else, it looks very pretty. That's until the weeds push through. And there's definitely going to be weeds in this bed. With double protection, strolch and slug pellets. Well, actually, slug pellets, strolch and more slug pellets. Be a very brave slug that comes near this lot. Now for my last layer of defences, some garden netting.
I wasn't entirely sure if my netting would be wide enough, but apparently it is, which is perfect. Here's a closer look at what happens at the ends. So I take the outer side pieces and gather it up into the middle. Once I have it all gathered together in one bunch, I'm going to twist this around. Gives everything a nice shape and a good tight seal around the bottom. And finally I will wrap this piece I have around a brick. That's going to weight it down. Taking my spare loose end and wrapping that round the brick as well.
Beautiful, all done. Brassicas planted. We're the 20 something of August. I must admit, not sure of the date.
The 24th.
Triple protection, strolch, slug pellets and netting. So these should do just fine. We've also got a week of rain forecast, although the sun is shining in my eyes right now. It's very warm and pleasant, and I don't think it's going to get cold, it's just going to get wet. Pretty used to that round here. What makes everything so lovely, lush and green. So bye for now, and we'll see you next time. Let's just hope they grow now. I'm sure they will.
Planting brassicas. First, prepare your bed by clearing all the weeds. I managed to get a bucket full out of here. Next, I'm adding blood, fish and bone to feed those young plants and an extra top dressing of nice fresh compost. Space out your plants between 1 foot and 18 inches apart, deciding where you want them all to go. Start digging holes ready to plant. Dig a hole and fill it with water and let the water soak away. When it's gone, you're ready to pop your plant in. A little gentle pressure on the top to make sure it's nice and secure. Now the bed's all planted, it's time to protect our precious new plants. A scattering of slug pellets. I'm using Sluggo, an organic slug pellet. Some netting to keep off the cabbage white butterflies and the birds. Held down securely with a few heavy bricks. And there we have it. All our brassicas planted. Cabbages, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, you name it. All works the same. Lovely.